Have you ever wondered if there's more to life than just the daily grind? Are you seeking inner peace or a way to navigate the challenges of your mind? What if the answers you're looking for have been around for centuries, and all it takes is a shift in perspective? Today, we'll explore Buddhism, a path to understanding your true self and finding balance in a world that often feels overwhelming. Picture this. You're sitting in a crowded room, feeling the chaos around you. Your mind races, your thoughts pull you in every direction, and you feel lost in the noise. Now, imagine in that very same moment, you can find stillness, peace, and clarity. Buddhism offers a way to quiet that inner storm, guiding you toward a life of deeper understanding and tranquility. Sounds intriguing, doesn't it? So, how do you begin? Where do you even start? In this video, we'll walk you through the basic principles of Buddhism, why it can be life-changing, and how you can start practicing today, even if you're just starting to dip your toes into it. Whether you're looking for spiritual guidance or simply seeking to calm your mind, this path might just be the answer. Welcome to Wisdom Woven. If you're curious about how Buddhism can impact your life, you're in the right place. We'll break it all down for you step by step. But before we dive in, there's something you need to know. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of you subscribe. So please, take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Drop your thoughts in the comments too. We'd love to hear from you. Now, let's begin our journey into the world of Buddhism. Are you ready to open your mind and explore new ways of thinking? Let's dive in. Understanding the essence of Buddhism. Buddhism is not just a religion. It's a way of life. It's about understanding the nature of your mind in the world around you. At its core, Buddhism teaches us to see things as they truly are, without the layers of expectations, beliefs, and distractions that we often place over them. It shows us how to break free from the cycle of suffering and find peace and clarity in our everyday lives. At first glance, Buddhism might seem complicated, but in reality, it's built on simple, universal principles. These teachings were shared by Siddhartha Gautama, who later became known as the Buddha. He was a man who, after years of searching for the truth about life, discovered profound insights that could transform the human experience. One of the fundamental teachings of Buddhism is the idea of impermanence. Everything in life is constantly changing. Our thoughts, emotions, and even our bodies are in a state of flux. By understanding and accepting impermanence, we can let go of our attachment to things and begin to appreciate the present moment. Life is not about clinging to what we have or fearing what we will lose, but about accepting the flow of life as it is. Another central concept in Buddhism is suffering, or dukkha. The Buddha taught that suffering is an inevitable part of life. This doesn't mean that life is nothing but pain, but rather that suffering comes in many forms: physical, emotional, and mental. Whether it's the pain of losing a loved one, the frustration of unmet desires, or the dissatisfaction we feel with the world around us, suffering is something that every human being experiences in some way. However, Buddhism doesn't leave us stuck in suffering. The Buddha also taught that there is a way to end suffering, and that way begins with understanding the root causes of our pain. The core of Buddhist philosophy lies in the Four Noble Truths, which offer a roadmap for overcoming suffering. The first noble truth is the truth of suffering. It acknowledges that suffering is an inherent part of life. Birth is suffering, aging is suffering, illness is suffering, and death is suffering. Even our attachments, whether to people, possessions, or ideas, lead to suffering. The Buddha did not shy away from this reality. Instead, he encouraged his followers to face it head-on. By understanding suffering, we take the first step toward breaking free from its grip. The second noble truth explores the cause of suffering. It teaches that our desires and attachments are the root causes of suffering. We crave things, people, and experiences, believing that they will bring us happiness or fulfillment. But when these desires go unmet, or when they fade away, we experience frustration, disappointment, and sadness. By learning to release our attachments, we can free ourselves from the cycle of craving and suffering. The third noble truth offers hope. It reveals that it is possible to end suffering by letting go of these desires and attachments. When we stop grasping for things that we believe will make us happy, we can experience true peace. This peace is not dependent on external circumstances, but comes from within. It is a state of mind that allows us to live in harmony with ourselves and the world around us. The fourth noble truth provides the path to liberation, known as the Eightfold Path. This is a guide for living a life that leads to the cessation of suffering and the attainment of enlightenment. The Eightfold Path consists of right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Each aspect of the path helps us develop wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. While the Four Noble Truths provide a framework for understanding the nature of suffering and the path to its cessation, the Eightfold Path offers practical steps for putting these teachings into practice. In essence, Buddhism is not just about philosophical ideas, but about how we can live them out in our everyday lives. One of the most important aspects of Buddhism is the emphasis on mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in each moment, without judgment or distraction. When we are mindful, we pay attention to our thoughts, feelings, and actions without getting caught up in them. This helps us to see things clearly and to respond to situations with wisdom and compassion, rather than reacting out of habit or emotion. Through mindfulness, we become more aware of our thoughts and behaviors. We can begin to notice the patterns that lead to suffering and learn to change them. Instead of reacting impulsively or automatically to situations, we can pause, reflect, and choose our responses more wisely. This is a key part of the Buddhist practice, as it helps us break free from the cycles of suffering and create a life of greater peace and contentment. Buddhism also teaches the importance of compassion. Compassion is the ability to empathize with the suffering of others and to wish them well. It's not just about feeling sorry for someone, but about genuinely wanting to help them find relief from their pain. Compassion is the natural expression of wisdom. When we understand the suffering of others, we are moved to act with kindness and generosity. In Buddhism, compassion is closely linked to the practice of loving kindness. Loving kindness is a form of unconditional love that extends to all beings, without discrimination. It is the wish for others to be happy and free from suffering, and it is practiced through thoughts, words, and actions. Loving kindness is not just about feeling good toward others, but about actively working to alleviate their suffering. Buddhism teaches that we are all interconnected. The suffering of one person is the suffering of all, and the happiness of one person is the happiness of all. This interconnectedness means that our actions have an impact on others, and that we are all responsible for the well-being of those around us. By cultivating compassion and loving kindness, we can contribute to the peace and happiness of the world. In order to fully understand the essence of Buddhism, it is important to recognize that it is not about achieving perfection or reaching some final goal. Instead, it is about the journey itself, about learning, growing, and becoming more aware of who we are and how we interact with the world. It's about cultivating a mind that is clear, a heart that is open, and a life that is lived with intention and purpose. The beauty of Buddhism lies in its simplicity. It offers a way of living that is accessible to everyone, regardless of background, culture, or belief. It teaches us to live in harmony with ourselves, with others, and with the world around us. And while the path may not always be easy, it is a path that leads to freedom, from suffering, from ignorance, and from the limitations we place on ourselves. By understanding the essence of Buddhism, we can begin to see the world in a new light. We can learn to let go of our attachments, to release our cravings, and to find peace in the present moment. Buddhism offers us a way to live more fully, more authentically, and with greater compassion. It reminds us that the key to happiness is not in what we have or what we achieve, but in how we choose to relate to the world around us. As we continue on this journey, remember that the path of Buddhism is not a destination, but a way of living, a way that can bring peace, wisdom, and compassion into every moment of our lives. Through mindfulness, compassion, in the teachings of the Buddha, we can discover a deeper, more meaningful existence. The essence of Buddhism is not something that can be grasped with the mind alone. It is something that must be experienced in the heart, through our actions, and in the way we engage with the world. The life of Buddha, the journey to enlightenment. The story of Buddha begins not in a monastery or a temple, but in a royal palace many centuries ago. His name was Siddhartha Gautama, and he was born as a prince in what is now Nepal. His life, however, would take him on a journey that would ultimately change the way people understand the world and themselves. But to truly understand how he became Buddha, we need to start from the beginning. Siddhartha Gautama's early life was one of luxury and privilege. He lived in a magnificent palace, shielded from the suffering of the outside world. His father, the king, wanted to protect him from any form of hardship, believing that if Siddhartha remained in the palace, he would grow up to be a powerful and wise ruler. For years, the prince was sheltered from the reality of human life: pain, sickness, aging, and death. However, despite the protective efforts of his father, Siddhartha's curiosity could not be contained. One day, as he ventured outside the palace walls, he encountered something that would change his life forever. He saw an old man, bent with age and frailty. Siddhartha was shocked, for he had never seen someone like this before. He had only known the vibrant youth and vitality of the palace, where no one showed the signs of aging. Siddhartha asked his charioteer, "Who was this man?" The charioteer explained that the old man was a symbol of the inevitable passage of time, something that would come to everyone eventually. This moment was a turning point for Siddhartha. He began to realize that life outside the palace was not as perfect as he had once thought. Over the next few days, Siddhartha encountered more painful realities. He saw a sick man, a funeral procession, and finally, an ascetic, a person who had chosen to live a life of hardship in search of spiritual truth. These encounters stirred something deep within him. He realized that no matter how rich or powerful someone might be, no one could escape the suffering that is part of life. This realization sparked a deep desire in him to understand the nature of suffering and how it could be overcome. At the age of 29, Siddhartha made a bold decision. He left the comforts of his palace, his family, and his royal life behind to seek the truth. He set out on a journey to find the answers to life's greatest questions. Why is there suffering? How can it be overcome? What is the true meaning of life? His journey was not an easy one. Siddhartha tried many different approaches to find the truth. He studied with various teachers, learned their philosophies, and practiced their techniques, but nothing gave him the peace and understanding he sought. He even went to extreme lengths, living as an ascetic, depriving his body of food and comfort in an attempt to reach enlightenment. For years, he pushed his body to its limits, but still, he did not find the answers he was looking for. At a certain point, Siddhartha realized that self-denial and extreme asceticism were not the way to reach true enlightenment. He had been so focused on rejecting the world around him that he had neglected to find balance and peace within himself. After years of struggle, he came to a powerful insight. The answer lay not in rejecting the world, but in embracing it with wisdom, compassion, and mindfulness. This realization led him to a moment of deep meditation under a Bodhi tree. Siddhartha sat in stillness, vowing not to rise until he had found the truth. Days turned into nights, and nights into days, as Siddhartha meditated, facing temptations, doubts, and fears. But he remained steadfast, his mind growing clearer and clearer with each passing moment. Finally, after a night of intense meditation, Siddhartha Gautama reached a state of enlightenment. He had discovered the nature of suffering and the path to its end. From that moment on, he was known as the Buddha, which means the awakened one. The Buddha's enlightenment did not just give him an understanding of his own mind and spirit, but also a deep compassion for others who were suffering. He knew that the truth he had discovered could help others, and he decided to spend the rest of his life teaching. The Buddhist teachings, which are the foundation of Buddhism, are simple yet profound. He spoke of the Four Noble Truths. The truth of suffering. Dukkha, life is filled with suffering, whether it's physical pain, emotional turmoil, or the inevitable aging and death that comes to all living things. The truth of the cause of suffering. Suffering is caused by craving and attachment. Our desires for things, experiences, and even our own sense of self can lead to dissatisfaction. The truth of the end of suffering. It is possible to end suffering by letting go of attachment and craving. By freeing ourselves from desires, we can experience peace and liberation. The truth of the path to the end of suffering. The path to ending suffering is the Eightfold Path, a practical guide for living wisely, ethically, and mindfully. The Buddhist teachings offer a practical way to navigate life. They provide a clear framework for understanding how our thoughts, actions, and feelings can shape our experiences. Through mindfulness, meditation, and ethical living, we can free ourselves from suffering and live a life of greater peace and understanding. But the Buddha didn't stop there. His teachings also focused on the importance of compassion, wisdom, and kindness. He taught that true enlightenment is not just about personal liberation, but about helping others to find their own path to peace. As the Buddha traveled, he gathered a community of followers who were eager to learn from him. He taught both the rich and the poor, the young and the old, men and women, believing that all beings have the potential to awaken and find peace. His teachings spread across India and beyond, and over time, they became the foundation for the Buddhist tradition. The Buddha's life is a reminder that no matter where we begin, the path to understanding and peace is always open to us. His journey was one of personal transformation, from a prince sheltered in luxury to a teacher who showed others the way to liberation. The Buddhist teachings offer hope to anyone who is searching for deeper meaning, inner peace, and freedom from suffering. Today, his life and teachings continue to inspire millions of people around the world. The story of Siddhartha Gautama, the prince who became the Buddha, is not just a story of one person's awakening, but a universal story of the potential for all beings to wake up to their true nature and find freedom from suffering. Core teachings: the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. In the teachings of Buddhism, there are two fundamental ideas that serve as a foundation for everything: the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. These teachings are like the map that guides practitioners through the journey of life, showing how to overcome suffering and reach enlightenment. Let's take a closer look at these core principles and see how they can transform the way we live. The Four Noble Truths. The Four Noble Truths are the heart of the Buddha's teachings. They explain the nature of human suffering and provide a clear path to end it. Here's a breakdown of each truth. The truth of suffering, dukkha. Life, as we know it, comes with suffering. It might sound harsh at first, but when you really think about it, you'll realize that suffering is an unavoidable part of life. This doesn't just mean physical pain, but also emotional and mental struggles like frustration, sadness, and anxiety. Even in moments of happiness, there's often a lingering sense of impermanence, because we know that good times don't last forever. The Buddha recognized that suffering is universal. It affects all of us, no matter where we are or who we are. The truth of the cause of suffering, samadaya. So why does suffering exist? The second truth tells us that suffering arises from our desires, attachments, and ignorance. We long for things to be different. We cling to people, possessions, and ideas, and we try to hold on to things that are always changing. This constant craving and attachment lead to dissatisfaction and frustration. We often think that the key to happiness is obtaining what we want, but the truth is that wanting more only increases our suffering. The truth of the end of suffering, nirodha. The good news is that there's an end to suffering. The Buddha taught that if we let go of our desires and attachments, we can experience true freedom and peace. This doesn't mean that life will be free of challenges or hardship, but we can find a way to navigate those difficulties with equanimity and grace. By understanding the nature of our cravings and attachments, we can stop feeding them and eventually reach a state of inner calm. This state is often called nirvana, the cessation of suffering and the ultimate peace. The truth of the path leading to the end of suffering, magga. The final truth reveals the way to end suffering, the Eightfold Path. It's a practical guide that outlines the steps we need to take to achieve enlightenment. By following this path, we can gradually transform our lives, reduce our attachments, and reach a place of peace and wisdom. The Eightfold Path is not something you achieve overnight, but a lifelong practice of self-reflection and improvement. Let's take a closer look at each part of this path. The Eightfold Path. The Eightfold Path is a comprehensive guide to living a mindful, ethical, and peaceful life. It consists of 8 practices or principles that work together to help us overcome suffering. These are: right view. The first step on the path is developing the right view or understanding of the world. This means seeing things as they truly are, without distortion or illusion. It involves understanding the Four Noble Truths and seeing life through the lens of impermanence, interconnectedness, and non-attachment. Right view helps us realize that our actions, thoughts, and emotions have consequences, and it encourages us to cultivate wisdom in every aspect of life. Right intention. Right intention is the intention to act with kindness, compassion, and wisdom. It means cultivating a mindset that is free from harmful desires, such as greed, hatred, or ignorance. Instead, it involves wanting to do good, not only for oneself but also for others. Right intention is about setting your heart and mind on a path of virtue and self-improvement, making conscious choices that lead to peace and happiness. Right speech. Words are powerful. What we say can hurt or heal, build up or tear down. Right speech means speaking truthfully, kindly, and constructively. It's about avoiding lying, gossiping, or speaking in ways that cause harm. Instead, it's about choosing words that foster understanding, respect, and harmony. By practicing right speech, we create an environment of trust and compassion, both in our relationships and in our inner world. Right action. Right action refers to acting in ways that are morally and ethically sound. This means avoiding actions that cause harm to others, such as killing, stealing, or engaging in sexual misconduct. Right action encourages us to live with integrity, making choices that promote the well-being of ourselves and those around us. It's about aligning our behavior with our values and ensuring that our actions contribute to the greater good. Right livelihood. Right livelihood means choosing a profession or way of making a living that doesn't harm others. It's about finding a path that aligns with ethical principles and contributes positively to society. For example, a job that promotes the well-being of others, such as teaching, healing, or helping the environment, would be in line with right livelihood. This practice encourages us to make a living without causing harm to people, animals, or the planet. Right effort. Right effort involves cultivating the right attitude and making an effort to develop good qualities while reducing negative ones. It's about striving to be the best version of ourselves, putting effort into improving our mind, body, and spirit. This includes overcoming negative mental states such as greed, anger, and delusion, while also fostering positive qualities like compassion, generosity, and patience. Right effort is not about forcing or striving too hard. It's about consistent, mindful practice that leads to progress over time. Right mindfulness. Right mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in each moment, without judgment or distraction. It involves paying attention to our thoughts, emotions, and actions, as well as our surroundings. Through mindfulness, we gain greater awareness of our habitual patterns and reactions, allowing us to break free from automatic, unconscious behaviors. This practice helps us cultivate clarity, focus, and an open, accepting attitude toward whatever arises in our lives. Right concentration. Right concentration refers to the practice of developing deep concentration through meditation. It involves focusing the mind on a single object or concept, gradually calming the thoughts and allowing the mind to reach a state of inner stillness. Right concentration is often achieved through meditation practices such as mindfulness meditation or loving-kindness meditation. As we develop concentration, we gain the ability to observe our thoughts without becoming entangled in them, leading to greater insight and wisdom. Putting it all together, the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path work hand in hand. The Four Noble Truths explain why we suffer and point to the solution, while the Eightfold Path provides the practical steps to follow in order to end suffering and reach enlightenment. These teachings are not meant to be followed rigidly, but as a guide to help us live with more awareness, compassion, and wisdom. As we walk this path, we begin to notice a shift in how we experience life. We stop reacting to situations with anger, fear, or attachment, and instead, we approach them with mindfulness, understanding, and patience. We start to see the interconnectedness of all things, recognizing that our actions have an impact on others and the world around us. The more we practice these teachings, the closer we come to experiencing true freedom and peace. Buddhism offers us a way to live in harmony with ourselves and the world. By understanding the Four Noble Truths and committing to the Eightfold Path, we can transform our lives, reduce our suffering, and move toward enlightenment. It's a journey, not a destination, but each step brings us closer to the peace we seek. Meditation in Buddhism, the key to inner peace. Imagine a calm, serene lake, its surface smooth as glass, reflecting the beauty of the sky above. Now, think of your mind as that lake. Most of the time, it's like a stormy sea, waves crashing, thoughts racing in all directions. Meditation in Buddhism is like the art of calming that storm, creating a peaceful, clear surface where you can see things as they truly are. This is one of the central practices in Buddhism, and its benefits can transform your life in ways you may never have imagined. At its core, meditation in Buddhism is about focusing the mind, not letting it wander aimlessly. It's about coming into the present moment fully, without the distractions of the past or the future. This might sound simple, but it's actually one of the most profound things you can do. In a world that pulls us in 100 different directions every day, meditation allows us to stop, breathe, and just be. There are many forms of meditation within Buddhism, but all share one common goal: to cultivate a calm, focused, and clear mind. Let's explore a few of the most well-known types of Buddhist meditation. 1. Zazen, seated meditation. Zazen, or seated meditation, is one of the most famous forms of meditation in Zen Buddhism. The practice involves sitting upright, focusing on your breath, and letting go of all distractions. You don't try to control your thoughts. Instead, you observe them without judgment, allowing them to come and go like clouds in the sky. Over time, this helps you develop a deep sense of mindfulness and presence. Zazen is a practice that invites you to simply be rather than do. In today's fast-paced world, we are constantly told that we must achieve something, that we must be productive, and that we must always be moving forward. But meditation teaches us the opposite, that sometimes the most important thing we can do is stop and simply exist in the present moment. When you meditate, you learn to become more aware of your thoughts and feelings without being overwhelmed by them. This creates space for you to respond thoughtfully, rather than reacting impulsively. 2. Vipassana, insight meditation. Vipassana is one of the oldest forms of meditation, and it focuses on developing insight into the nature of reality. It is often referred to as insight meditation because it helps you gain a deep understanding of the impermanence, suffering, and non-self that Buddhism teaches about life. The practice of Vipassana typically involves observing your breath and bodily sensations in a very detailed way, allowing you to see things as they truly are, without the filter of your thoughts or emotions. As you meditate, you start to notice that all things, your thoughts, feelings, and even physical sensations, are constantly changing. This insight into impermanence helps you develop a sense of detachment, meaning you no longer cling to things or get caught up in the illusion that things are permanent. This doesn't mean you stop caring about the world around you. Rather, it helps you approach life with a sense of equanimity, accepting things as they come and go without getting too attached or upset. 3. Loving-kindness meditation, Metabhavana. Loving-kindness meditation, or Metabhavana, is a practice designed to cultivate feelings of love and compassion towards yourself and others. This form of meditation is especially powerful in helping you develop an open heart and a deep sense of empathy for all living beings. During Metabhavana, you silently repeat phrases like, "May I be happy, may I be safe, may I be healthy," and then gradually extend these wishes to others, starting with loved ones and eventually expanding to include all beings, even those you may find difficult to love. This type of meditation helps transform negative emotions like anger, resentment, and jealousy into positive, loving thoughts. It's a way of training your mind to shift its focus from judgment and criticism to understanding and kindness. Over time, meditation can lead to a profound shift in your attitude toward others, encouraging you to approach the world with compassion and love, rather than fear or hatred. 4. Walking meditation. While many forms of meditation are practiced while sitting, walking meditation provides an alternative for those who find it difficult to sit still for long periods of time. Walking meditation is a form of mindfulness practice where you focus on each step you take, being fully present in the act of walking. This practice allows you to bring mindfulness into your daily activities and helps you connect with the world around you in a more grounded, physical way. In walking meditation, you pay attention to the movement of your body as you walk, the sensation of your feet touching the ground, and the rhythm of your steps. It's a simple practice, but it's incredibly effective in helping you cultivate awareness and presence in your life. Walking meditation can be done anywhere, whether you're in a quiet park, a busy city street, or even around your home. Why is meditation so important in Buddhism? At its heart, meditation is the tool Buddhism offers to help you understand the nature of your mind. It's not about achieving some goal or getting better at something. It's about seeing things clearly and without distortion. Through meditation, you begin to understand the impermanent nature of your thoughts and emotions. You learn to let go of your attachment to things, and you develop a sense of peace that isn't dependent on external circumstances. In Buddhism, meditation is often described as a mirror. It reflects back to you the true nature of your mind. The more you practice, the more you can see clearly, and the more you can understand the underlying patterns of your thoughts and feelings. This leads to greater self-awareness, which is essential for growth and transformation. The benefits of meditation. You might be wondering, what are the actual benefits of meditation? Why should you put in the time and effort to practice it regularly? The benefits are numerous, and they go far beyond just feeling relaxed or calm. Reduce stress. Meditation helps lower stress levels by calming the nervous system and promoting a state of relaxation. It encourages the body to release tension, allowing you to feel more at ease in your daily life. Improved focus. Through regular meditation, you train your mind to stay focused on one thing at a time. This leads to improved concentration and productivity in other areas of life. Emotional balance. Meditation helps regulate emotions by creating space between your reactions and your thoughts. This allows you to respond to situations more thoughtfully and with greater emotional resilience. Increased compassion. Practices like loving-kindness meditation help you develop empathy and kindness toward yourself and others, leading to stronger relationships and a more compassionate outlook on life. Spiritual growth. For those seeking a deeper connection with their spiritual path, meditation is a means of cultivating awareness and insight into the nature of existence. It's a way of connecting with something greater than yourself and experiencing a sense of oneness with the world around you. Getting started with meditation. If you're new to meditation, it can seem intimidating at first. But don't worry, just like any other skill, meditation takes practice. Start with short sessions, perhaps just 5 or 10 minutes a day. Find a quiet space where you can sit comfortably, close your eyes, and focus on your breath. Whenever your mind wanders, and it will, gently bring your attention back to your breath. It's okay if your mind gets distracted. The goal is not to stop your thoughts, but simply to notice them and return your focus to your breath. As you become more experienced, you can gradually extend the length of your meditation sessions and explore different types of meditation. The key is consistency. Try to meditate every day, even if it's just for a few minutes. Over time, you'll notice subtle changes in your mindset and outlook on life. Your mind will become quieter, more peaceful, and more focused. Conclusion. Meditation is an essential practice in Buddhism, and its benefits extend far beyond the cushion. It's a practice that helps you cultivate a deeper understanding of yourself and the world around you. Whether you're looking for inner peace, emotional balance, or spiritual growth, meditation offers a powerful way to transform your life. So, take a moment to sit, breathe, and simply be. In the stillness, you'll find a deeper connection to your true nature, and in that connection, you'll find the peace and wisdom that Buddhism promises. Mindfulness and its role in everyday life. In the hustle and bustle of everyday life, it's easy to get swept up in a whirlwind of thoughts and actions. We go through the motions, distracted by endless to-do lists, notifications, and worries about the future. But what if, instead of getting lost in all that noise, we could train our minds to stay present in each moment? This is where mindfulness comes in, a core practice in Buddhism that has the power to transform how we experience life. Mindfulness is the practice of paying full attention to the present moment, without judgment. It's about being fully aware of where you are, what you're doing, and how you're feeling, without allowing your mind to wander off into the past or future. Think about it. How often do you find yourself thinking about what you'll have for dinner while in the middle of a conversation, or worrying about a task at work while you're supposed to be relaxing? Most of us spend more time thinking about what's next than fully experiencing what's happening right now. But mindfulness invites us to change that. It asks us to stop and take a breath, to reconnect with the present. Whether it's feeling the warmth of the sun on your skin, noticing the taste of food as you eat, or simply observing your breath, mindfulness is about tuning into life as it unfolds, moment by moment. This practice can be done anywhere, anytime, and it doesn't require any special equipment or rituals, just a willingness to be fully present. In Buddhism, mindfulness is often associated with meditation, but it extends far beyond sitting on a cushion. It's something you can incorporate into every part of your day. Imagine you're washing dishes. Instead of rushing through it, thinking about everything else you have to do, you can choose to focus entirely on the sensation of the water running over your hands, the sound of the plates clinking together, and the simple act of cleaning. By doing this, you not only complete the task at hand, but you also find peace in the process. Mindfulness helps us develop a deep awareness of our thoughts, feelings, and actions, which is key to understanding ourselves better. For instance, when we're mindful, we might notice how often our minds wander to worries or judgments. With practice, we can start to separate ourselves from those thoughts and see them for what they are. Just thoughts, not truths. This awareness allows us to make more conscious decisions, respond to situations calmly, and stop reacting impulsively out of stress or frustration. One of the most profound effects of mindfulness is that it helps us deal with difficult emotions. When we experience anger, sadness, or anxiety, these emotions can feel overwhelming. We might try to push them away or distract ourselves from them, but mindfulness teaches us to sit with those feelings, to observe them without judgment, and to simply allow them to pass. This doesn't mean we suppress our emotions or pretend they don't exist. Instead, we acknowledge them and let them go, rather than letting them control us. In the Buddhist tradition, mindfulness is also closely tied to the concept of sati, which means remembering or recollecting. In this sense, mindfulness is a reminder to bring our attention back to the present whenever we find ourselves lost in thought or distracted. It's about cultivating a habit of awareness so that we don't go through life on autopilot, but instead experience it fully and deeply. This simple act of remembering to be present can have a profound impact on our overall well-being. The practice of mindfulness also encourages compassion, both for ourselves and for others. When we become more mindful, we start to notice the suffering around us, whether it's in our own lives or in the lives of those we encounter. By being present with others, truly listening and understanding their needs, we can respond with kindness and empathy, rather than rushing to judgment or reacting out of impatience. Mindfulness, in this sense, helps us connect with the world around us in a more meaningful way. But how can you start practicing mindfulness in your own life? It doesn't have to be complicated, and you don't have to dedicate hours of your day to it. Here are a few simple ways to begin. Mindful breathing. Take a few minutes each day to focus on your breath. Notice the air as it enters and leaves your body. If your mind starts to wander, gently bring it back to your breath. This simple practice can help calm your mind and center your thoughts. Mindful eating. Next time you eat, try to be fully present with the experience. Notice the colors, textures, and flavors of your food. Slow down and savor each bite, rather than rushing through your meal. Mindful walking. When you take a walk, pay attention to the sensation of your feet hitting the ground, the sounds around you, and the feeling of the air against your skin. Walking mindfully can turn even the most routine task into a peaceful, reflective moment. Mindful listening. When engaging with others, try to listen fully without interrupting or thinking about what you're going to say next. Give the person your full attention and respond thoughtfully, rather than reacting automatically. Mindful observing. Take time each day to observe your surroundings. Whether you're sitting in a park, looking out the window, or just sitting quietly at home, notice the small details that often go unnoticed. The way light plays on the leaves, the sound of birds in the distance, or the feel of the ground beneath you. All these simple things can bring you back to the present moment. As you practice mindfulness, don't be discouraged if your mind still wanders. This is natural and part of the process. The key is not to be hard on yourself, but to gently guide your focus back to the present. With time, mindfulness becomes more natural, and you'll find that it enhances your ability to stay grounded and at peace, no matter what's happening around you. In Buddhist teachings, mindfulness is considered one of the essential tools for developing wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. It is often referred to as the foundation of the spiritual path because it allows us to see things as they truly are, without the distortions of our preconceived notions, judgments, or emotional reactions. Through mindfulness, We gain clarity, insight, and the ability to live with intention, rather than being swept away by the tides of habit and distraction. In our modern world, where distractions are everywhere, mindfulness offers us a way to reclaim our attention and live more consciously. It helps us reduce stress, improve our relationships, and make better choices. But perhaps most importantly, mindfulness allows us to connect with the present moment, the only moment we truly have. So, the next time you find yourself overwhelmed or disconnected, take a deep breath, bring your awareness back to the here and now, and embrace the simplicity of the present. This is the power of mindfulness, to transform everyday moments into opportunities for peace, clarity, and understanding. Through mindfulness, you begin to see the beauty in the small things, the things that are often overlooked in the rush of life. And in that beauty, you'll discover a deeper sense of connection to yourself and the world around you. So, take it one step at a time, and remember, mindfulness is a practice, not a destination. The more you cultivate it, the more it will enrich your life. Compassion and loving kindness, the heart of Buddhist practice. Compassion and loving kindness, or metta as it is called in Buddhism, are often considered the heart of Buddhist practice. But what do these concepts really mean? And how can they help us live a more peaceful and meaningful life? In this part, we'll dive into the profound power of compassion and loving kindness and explore why they are central to Buddhist teachings. Let's start with compassion. Compassion isn't just about feeling sorry for someone else's pain. In Buddhism, it is about recognizing the suffering in the world and wanting to relieve it. Compassion is not limited to only those we know, but extends to all beings, even those we don't understand or might even disagree with. It's about developing a deep sense of empathy for others, whether they are human beings or animals, and wishing them freedom from suffering. Imagine you are walking down the street and you see someone struggling, perhaps carrying a heavy load or looking sad. What's the first thing that comes to mind? You might feel a moment of sympathy or even think to yourself, I wish they didn't have to carry that weight. This is the beginning of compassion, the recognition that another being is experiencing difficulty, in the desire to help, even if it's just by acknowledging their pain. Compassion is not about fixing someone's problems, but about showing care, concern, and a willingness to alleviate suffering in whatever way we can. In Buddhism, compassion starts with ourselves. Before we can truly feel for others, we must first learn to care for ourselves. Many people struggle with self-criticism or harsh judgment. Buddhism teaches us to embrace self-compassion, to recognize our own pain and struggles without judgment, and to be gentle with ourselves. When we develop compassion for ourselves, we are better able to extend that same compassion to others. Now, let's talk about loving kindness, which is closely linked to compassion but focuses more on love and good wishes. Loving kindness is about sending positive, loving energy to everyone, regardless of their actions or behaviors. In Buddhism, loving kindness is often cultivated through meditation. In this practice, you sit quietly and repeat phrases such as, "May all beings be happy," "May all beings be free from suffering," or "May all beings live with ease." These simple words have a profound impact when repeated sincerely. At first, this may feel strange. You might think, how can I wish happiness for someone I don't even like? But that's the beauty of loving kindness. It isn't about our personal feelings towards individuals. It's about recognizing the shared human experience of wanting happiness and freedom from pain. When we wish happiness for others, we are also wishing it for ourselves, because we are all connected by our shared humanity. Think about a time when you felt warmth and kindness from another person. Maybe it was a smile from a stranger, or a friend who listened to you when you needed to talk. That feeling of being seen, heard, and cared for is what loving kindness can create in the world. When we actively practice loving kindness, we start to see that everyone, no matter their circumstances, deserves happiness, love, and peace. One of the challenges of practicing compassion and loving kindness is that we sometimes encounter people who make it difficult. Maybe someone has hurt us, or we feel anger or resentment towards them. How do we practice loving kindness in those situations? Buddhism teaches us that loving kindness is not dependent on how someone treats us. It's about our own willingness to send out love, regardless of how others behave. It's about freeing ourselves from the prison of anger and bitterness. By wishing others well, even those who have wronged us, We are choosing peace over conflict, love over hatred. It's important to remember that compassion and loving kindness are not just about big, grand gestures. They can be practiced in small, everyday actions. A smile to a passerby, a kind word to a colleague, or a moment of silence to send out love to someone in need. All these are expressions of loving kindness. In fact, sometimes the smallest acts can make the biggest impact. Another key part of Buddhist practice is recognizing that compassion and loving kindness are not one-time efforts. They are ongoing practices that we return to again and again. Just as we need to take care of our physical health every day, we need to nourish our hearts with compassion and kindness. We can think of it as a muscle that we build and strengthen through consistent practice. The more we practice, the easier it becomes to respond with love and care, no matter the situation. The Buddha himself emphasized the importance of compassion. In many of his teachings, he spoke of the need to cultivate a heart of compassion for all beings, recognizing that suffering is an inherent part of life. He encouraged his followers to develop compassion not just for humans, but for all creatures, great and small. The Buddhist teachings show us that true enlightenment comes not from withdrawing from the world, but from engaging with it in a compassionate way, recognizing the suffering of others, and doing our part to ease it. But how do we start practicing compassion and loving kindness in our own lives? One of the first steps is simply becoming aware of our thoughts and feelings. Notice when you are quick to judge or criticize someone, and instead, try to replace that with compassion. It can be as simple as reminding yourself, they are struggling just like I am. In difficult situations, instead of reacting with frustration or anger, pause and ask yourself, what would it look like if I responded with kindness? This simple shift can have a profound impact on your relationships and your own peace of mind. Another way to cultivate these qualities is through meditation. As mentioned earlier, loving kindness meditation is a powerful way to open your heart and send love to others. In this practice, you start by sending love and care to yourself, then gradually extend that love to others, from close friends and family to strangers, and even those you may have conflicts with. Over time, this practice helps you develop a heart that is open, loving, and compassionate towards all beings. The ultimate goal of compassion and loving kindness is to transform the way we see the world. Instead of seeing others as separate from ourselves, we begin to recognize that we are all interconnected. The happiness of one is the happiness of all. The suffering of one is the suffering of all.